Hey Pokemon Masters, Toby here, and Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, they are nearly here, or maybe as you're watching this, they are out now. And being remakes of older Pokemon games, they're not going to be filled with lots of new lore, new Easter eggs, new Pokemon theory possibilities. No, for that we will have to wait a couple months, so I thought that would be a wonderful time to look back on my entire last 5 years, 6 years of making Pokemon theories, many of which tie into the Sinnoh region, and choosing just 10 of my favorites. 10 Pokemon theories about the Sinnoh region that you'll be able to like play through Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl and go, oh, that's how these things are related. Possibly. Maybe you accept some of these into your headcanon, maybe you don't, in which case, fair enough. But these are just 10 Pokemon theories about the Sinnoh region, and actually, next week, the release of Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, I am going to be doing a full week of Sinnoh content, Sinnoh Week, in which I might even have to visit a few more because there are just so many good theories about the Sinnoh region out there. So brace yourself for 10 Sinnoh-focused Pokemon theories. Let's have a look. Okay, 10 Sinnoh Pokemon theories. By the way, let me know which of these is your favorite in the comments, and if you do leave a comment, don't forget you are literally just entering yourself in with the chance of winning a copy of Legends Arceus. I'm giving away 3 copies when Pokemon Legends Arceus comes out. So, you know, why not? But try and make it a comment that engages with the video, at least a little bit. Right, here we go, 10 Sinnoh-focused Pokemon theories. These are going to be short but sweet abridgments of like full theories that you can find here on YouTube, or just things that have been discussed in the community before. So starting off with number 1, we have the fact that Aura, a concept introduced in Generation 4, is the same as Infinity Energy, and that Lucario is the connection point piece of evidence for all of this. So you might know Aura, maybe not so much from the games, though it is discussed in the games a lot in Generation 4 and actually a little bit in Generation 6, but Aura, as seen in the Lucario and the Mystery of Mew movie, is a kind of force that connects people and Pokemon. It's described as being the life essence of people and Pokemon, and Lucario is able to see it using its hair braids. It can kind of tune into the Aura and sense things around it. In fact, it's not just Lucario that can do this, some people can do this. The Aura Guardians of the past, including Sir Aaron, Riley from the games, and actually even Ash Ketchum, they are aura-sensitive individuals. And Aura travels as a sort of wavelength. Meanwhile, in Generation 6, Aura is talked about, the same generation that introduces Infinity Energy. In fact, it is Karina, the trainer who has a Mega Lucario, who talks about Aura. Lucario has a Pokedex entry that says that with the power of Mega Evolution, its Aura power grows even more, and in fact, in the animated series, we see Karina's Lucario kind of lose control of its own aura and its own power. It's just that strong. And we learn in the Azoth files, in the Mega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, that the same energy that is responsible for Mega Evolution and Primal Reversion is Infinity Energy, the life force of all people and Pokemon, the life essence of all people and Pokemon. Which, as we later learn from Professor Sycamore as he's talking about Mega Evolution and the Sundial and the Kalos region, that light energy, which travels in waves, is responsible for sort of irradiating the Megastones that are in the Earth. Lucario is also thought to be the first Pokemon to evolve via a Mega Evolution. This might be because it's just naturally in tune with that same energy, or a different part of that energy's wavelength. And so the theory is simply that the aura that we learn about in the Lucario and the Mystery of Mew movie, the aura that the Aura Guardians like Riley from the Gen 4 games experience and that Lucario experiences, is the exact same as Infinity Energy, just being talked about several generations earlier, and Lucario is the centerpiece of it all. Number 2, as with all of these theories, a quick one but a good one. Let's take a look at the Generation 4 fossil Pokemon Shieldon. Now we're going to look at the Generation 3 Pokemon Aron. One is the Shield Pokemon, one is the Iron Armor Pokemon. Shield, Armor, very protective. They both have the sturdy ability, they are similar heights, similar weights, they are the exact same typing, just swapping the steel to be the primary type for Aron. And that might be as a result of its diet, because when we look to the Pokedex entries for Shieldon, we learn that it eats berries, but when we look to Aron's Pokedex entries, we learn that it eats metal. It would seem just going full-on defensive was a better evolutionary tactic, and the theory is simple, that Aron is an evolutionary descendant of Shieldon. That's it, short but sweet. Number 3 is Fantina, the 3rd or 4th gym leader of the Sinnoh region, depending on what version you're playing, is of course not from the Sinnoh region. She is a foreign beauty, a contest extraordinaire, and of course powerful ghost-type gym leader. Now, in the version of the game that most of you played, she actually speaks with a kind of French accent. And so, again, connecting Generation 4 to Generation 6, lots of people, when Generation 6 with the Kalos region came out, went, oh my goodness, cool little theory here, Fantina is from the Kalos region. But have you ever stopped to wonder, how does Fantina talk in the French version of Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum? Well, she actually speaks with an English accent, which we now also have as a region in the Galar region. And at this point in time, it's hard to say which she's more likely connected to, whether it's Galar or Kalos, because the fact of the matter is, she doesn't have any connections to either of them in those regions that we can see. And at first it seems kind of curious that they didn't retcon this fact in, that Fantina, yes, see, she spoke with an accent, but she is canonically from Kalos or from Galar. But the point of the games in Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum is that she is a foreign beauty from another region. And even though Sinnoh is set in the Hokkaido region of Japan, it still wouldn't make sense. If they canonize the fact that she's from Kalos, that would make no sense to French players who are playing their copies of Diamond, Pearl, Platinum, Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl. But if they did it the other way and made her canon from Galar, then that wouldn't make sense to anyone anywhere else. So I guess where Fantina's from, we'll never know. Perhaps she's from none of these regions. Maybe she just makes up the accent. Who knows? Number 4, did any of you find it weird that the Diamond and Pearl remakes didn't get announced sooner, back in the era of like I Choose You, the Pokemon movie? You know, the one that featured Ash having 2 new companions, both of whom were from the Sinnoh region, one with Lucario, and then there was Verity, who had a Piplup. Now, it seems clear to me that Verity is probably from Twin Leaf Town, the town next to Lake Verity, the place of which he's probably named after. Twin Leaf Town is also obviously the place that you start your adventure in Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, but did you know we learn a little bit more about her home life? In that movie, you may be familiar with the flashback scene where we learn about Verity's mother, a very famous and powerful Pokemon trainer. She's seen with an Empoleon, and if you look at her, you're like, come on, that's Cynthia. And if it were up to me, that would be the theory, that would be the canon. Cool, Cynthia's got a daughter, her name is Verity, and Cynthia also has an Empoleon, which I don't think we ever saw in the games. But the movie's director actually said they have doubts about whether this is meant to be Cynthia. I think they left it a little bit more open to interpretation. And at first it's like, come on, that's clearly Cynthia. But then you remember that Cynthia actually has a younger sister. We only ever see her in the games, and she is of course in Celestic Town at Cynthia's house. And I do wonder, could this random NPC, could this be Verity's mother in the world of the games? It would make sense for a family from Celestic Town to name one of their children after the Lake Verity, because Celestic Town is like deeply imbued with the mythos of the Sinnoh region. They know all about the lake spirits, and so they would know all about Lake Verity. So I don't know, food for thought. In my mind, I look at this character and I'm still like, clearly that's Cynthia's sister, but the movie's director is a little bit less sure about it than I am. And I guess they made the movie, so they get a say as well. Speaking of relatives though, number 5, I really want to talk about Bertha of the Sinnoh region, and if you've been watching this channel for a long time, you might know this theory, but I suspect that Bertha is Gary Oak's mother. Yeah, you heard right. First of all, you're like, hang on, isn't Bertha too old? But there's a whole story here. So we all know that Oak and Agatha of the Kanto Elite Four have a little bit of history. Agatha talks about how he's an old coot fiddling with his Pokedex. He used to be strong, he used to battle, and we see in the manga that actually Oak won the first Pokemon League, the first Indigo League, beating Agatha, and perhaps in the flames of battle they found the flame of passion. But for whatever reason, and it's kind of referenced a lot in Pokemon Masters, things dwindled out. They didn't quite work between these two characters. However, interesting to note, in the Oak Mew event in Pokemon Masters, Agatha and Gary are hanging out a lot. Now, obviously, we're always asking who's Ash Ketchum's parents, but what about Gary? And sorry, I just said Gary for Pokemon Masters. It's blue in those games. Or in Japan, green. I'm kind of meshing the canons here because the story is pretty much the same across all of them. Oak's the grandpa and Gary Blue-Green is the grandson, and we don't know who that middle generation is, but we know that there might be some kind of relationship between Oak and Agatha. And Chantal of the Unova Elite Four notices a sort of similarity between Agatha and Bertha. I don't think it's just their name and just the fact that they're old ladies. It's a weird comment to make, and I think there might actually be some kind of connection there. Specifically because Oak has ties to the Sinnoh region. Oak studied under Professor Rowan in the Sinnoh region. Perhaps it was there that he raised his daughter, Bertha, who then had to go back to Sinnoh to be an Elite Four member, leaving Gary in the care of Grandpa Oak. And if you're like, okay, I don't like this, you know, this is meshing a lot of canons and I'm not sure about this, well, let's mesh one more canon for a final piece of evidence, which is in the one episode of the animated series where Bertha appears. She's looking after her cousin's son, I think they say, a character named Roland who doesn't look too dissimilar to Gary, so perhaps there really is some kind of relationship here. And if you think like, no, they'd be too distantly related, that wouldn't make sense, just look at Oak and then Samson Oak, they look pretty similar. I mean, heck, just look at Nurse Joy, there's a whole army of them. So I don't know, I don't think it's impossible, but it is admittedly a more flimsy Pokemon theory, but I like that it draws from a number of different canons. Number 6, okay, one more about people being related to each other in the Pokemon world, and then I promise I'll move on to actually talking about some Pokemon. But again, in the Kalos games, there are a lot of connections between Kalos and Sinnoh. Specifically, the Elite Four member Drasna, the Dragon Master, she has some comments that are really interesting. Specifically, she mentions that her grandparents came to Kalos from a distant region, from a place where the past lives on. This is very clearly a reference to Celestic Town. A town with a small shrine that dates back to ancient times where the past lives on, where Dragon Masters like Cynthia have come from. Now, I don't know if that means that she's directly related to Cynthia, or whether, like, maybe in the ancient past her relatives were related to Cynthia, or maybe that's something we'll see in Legends Arceus. But for sure, I am very certain that Drasna is from the Sinnoh region. Right, let's talk about some Pokemon with number 7, Phione and Manaphy. Have you ever wondered why when you breed a Manaphy, it turns into Phione? There's a couple of different theories for these, and maybe I'll talk about more in the future. Heck, it could honestly be a whole video of its own because there are so many theories about this one topic. But one I really love came from Hybrid Hero. And that was talking about how both Phione and Manaphy are based off of two real-world mollusks, two very specific and distinct species, one that can usually be found in northern waters and one in southern waters. And this kind of relationship between two mollusk-like creatures that are very, very similar but also distinctly different is reflected in Phione and Manaphy's relationship, with Manaphy being able to breed with a Ditto. Manaphy? I definitely just said Manaphy, with Manaphy being able to breed with Ditto to create a Phione egg. And Phione can breed with Ditto to create a Phione egg, so why can't we get more Manaphys? Well, the difference is in their Pokedex entries. Where Manaphy has a Pokedex entry that talks about how it comes from the cold sea floor, that's where its egg comes from. In fact, when we find the egg in Pokemon Ranger, the professor of the Pokemon Ranger region comments that it's probably drifted from very far away, so it's come from the cold sea floor to get there. However, Phione is a Pokemon that drifts around warm seas, and you might be like, hang on, isn't Phione a Sinnoh Pokemon? Isn't Sinnoh going to have like really cold waters? I guess, but cold and warm is relative, and from the deep ocean sea floor, the surface is probably pretty warm for Phione. And in fact, that makes sense as to why you only get Phione eggs when you breed Manaphy on land, because it's so warm on land compared to the deep ocean floor that Phione is ultimately the result. You'd only be able to get a Manaphy egg if the Pokemon ranch that they were being bred on was like deep at the ocean's floor, and it's the temperature change that affects how these Pokemon look. Kind of like regional variation, to be honest. This isn't too dissimilar to just like Phione being a regional form of Manaphy in the Sinnoh region, and the region that Manaphy is originally from isn't Sinnoh, it's the cold sea floor. And all of this ties into the fact that mollusks are very adaptable, and a lot of their different forms across the world adapt based on temperature. So yeah, cool theory, and that's probably my favorite explanation, but there are some others that I like that maybe I'll get into in the future. For now though, number 8. Another quick, easy Pokemon relationship, Garchomp and Sharpedo. It's something I've talked about on this channel a lot before. It's a classic Sinnoh theory. Gible is the land shark Pokemon. Sharpedo is a shark. They both have the rough skin ability. Heck, the other Pokemon with the rough skin ability is Druidigon, you know, I'm dyslexic. Another dragon Pokemon with similar coloration, but you really see the relationship with Garchomp and Sharpedo, because as well as that rough skin ability, they have the star design on the head, and on top of that, if you look at Mega Garchomp's shiny, it is the same as Sharpedo's shiny. These Pokemon are very closely related. And there is in fact one more tie that I mentioned in my 3 terrible Sinnoh theories video, which is Crawdaunt. Crawdaunt, a Pokemon that you can find in Celestic Town, the town that Cynthia, who has a Garchomp, is from. Crawdaunt is also designed kind of to look like a Sharpedo underwater. Very tangential, that bit, and if we ever see a new form for Garchomp or Sharpedo that isn't the Mega Evolutions we've already seen, I'd love for them to, like, again, just reference this connection even more. Number 9, speaking of terrible Sinnoh theories, this is a Sinnoh theory that I've never properly been able to connect together, and I'm gonna kind of leave this as an open-ended one that I want you in the comments, if you have any thoughts on this, help me connect this. The Sinnoh region has a big web of underground tunnels in which fossils can be found, as well as items that reference legendary Pokemon. There's red, green, and blue orbs, but as well as that, there's pearlescent orbs and there's diamond orbs. I forget what they're called. I think maybe even brilliant orbs? But long story short, they look like the Illustrious and Adamant orbs, Dialga and Palkia's orbs that are forming deep underground under the Sinnoh region. As well as that, you can also find shards, which are thought to be shattered pieces of the Arceus plates, and you can even find Arceus plates in the Sinnoh underground. So you've got all of these connections to fossils and legendary Pokemon under the Sinnoh region, and of course the Sinnoh region is known for being very icy. That's just a second part to this. And most recently, in the Crown Tundra, in Pokemon Sword and Shield, you have a big web of underground tunnels in the Max Raid Lair minigame, in which there are legendary Pokemon underground, and above ground in the Crown Tundra, there are fossils. Every fossil evolutionary line, apart from the Sinnoh fossils, can be found above ground in the Crown Tundra. My immediate thought is these tunnels must connect somewhere. There must be some big story about how these tunnels are related to each other, possibly to do something with Eternatus falling to Earth, maybe? Because I've already theorized that Eternatus and Arceus are related, so maybe there's some connection there. The only difference is in Sinnoh's underground, the fossil Pokemon are dead. Well, apart from now, with the Pokemon Hideaways, we see living Pokemon in the Sinnoh underground, but again, what's the connection? What's the story? I know there must be one there. In fact, in the Pokemon anime, we see that Byron, the Steel-type gym leader, who is the grandson of the underground man who dug the Sinnoh underground tunnels, has a giant Armaldo, possibly now sort of being seen and referenced in the Crown Tundra with Pokemon that go giant underground. Maybe that bit's a bit weak. All of it, though, does have the same types of inspiration and is a big callback to the kind of whole journey to the center of the Earth, Hollow Earth theory, in which there is supposedly a whole land on the inside of the Earth where ancient creatures, dinosaurs, giant creatures live. It's a super fantasy trope, but Pokemon have been playing off it for years, and it's more and more evident, especially in the Crown Tundra, especially with Gigantamax Pokemon, which are effectively kaijus that have come from the center of the Earth. So I'm just trying to figure out what the story is here. There is some connection here, but I will actually call this 9 not a proper theory because I don't know what the story is. I just know that there's a relationship there, and if you have any thoughts on that, I'd love to read them in the comments. And number 10, we got to talk about this theory, and I definitely wanted to revisit this one because so many people were arguing with me in the comments about this. Ash's Pikachu is, in my opinion, from the Sinnoh region. And I know you're getting ready to comment, oh, but Pokemon Journey shows Pikachu in the Kanto region. Right. Let me just explain. First of all, in the Kanto region, in every iteration of the Kanto region we've ever seen, we've never seen a Pichu, only Pikachu in the wilds of Viridian Forest, for example. I know you're gonna be like, yeah, but that's because Pichu wasn't introduced until Generation 2. Generation 2 was a long time ago. We've still, as far as I'm aware, yet to see Pichu in the wilds of Viridian Forest or anywhere around Pallet Town, apart from in Pokemon Journeys, where we see Ash's Pikachu as a Pichu. I will get to that. The only places where I think you can find Pichu in the wild are in the Galar and Alola region, where I don't think Oak's ever been. Samson Oak is, of course, in Alola, but it doesn't line up. But then he spent a lot of time, Professor Oak, in the Sinnoh region, studying under Professor Rowan. He has a house in Eterna City, and you can find Pichu in Mr. Backlot's manor. In that manor house, in that garden, you can find loads of baby Pokemon, because baby Pokemon don't tend to survive very well in the wild, but we know Ash's Pikachu was a Pichu. We see it in Pokemon Journeys. But I suspect that that Pichu was brought over by Oak to the Kanto region for the Pokemon Journeys appearance. Not only because in the animated series, Ash's Pikachu doesn't recognize the wild Viridian Forest Pikachu, which you'd think if that was his family, maybe he'd recognize them, but actually in the Pokemon Journeys anime episode, the episode that I think actually reinforces this theory, Ash's Pichu, before it's Ash's Pichu, this Pichu is seen entirely on its own. The whole plot of the episode is that Pichu doesn't seem to have a family here. Here in this big garden that seems to be filled with Pokemon from all across the Kanto region, you realize this isn't the forest, and this isn't a forest that's surrounding Pallet Town. This is probably Oak's ranch, where trainers send him Pokemon from all over, and all of these Pokemon are hanging out in family groups. All of them apart from Pichu. This Pichu is out of place. There's no herd of Pikachu that it's come from. It doesn't know that there's any Pikachu up in Viridian Forest, because this Pichu is entirely on its own, because it's not from here. It's not from the Kanto region. It's from the only place where you can find wild Pichu that Professor Oak spent an extended amount of time in, and that is the Sinnoh region, specifically from Mr. Backlot's mansion. And from there, it was transported over to the Kanto region, where then it evolved into a Pikachu, and eventually Ash took ownership of it. And if you want a final bit of confirmation on this, the final bit of evidence that ties this all together, Ash's Pikachu, as well as the other starters that Oak gives out, their Pokeballs have seals on them. Seals like we see in the Sinnoh region. But that's just another short little theory. And those are just 10 Sinnoh theories that I love, but there are plenty more. I can easily think of another 10 that maybe I'll cover during Sinnoh week, which is coming up. Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl are coming out, and I am so excited to share that journey with you. The day that the games come out, I will be live here on YouTube just doing a run through. I kind of have a bit of a surprise for it. Of course, if you leave a comment on this video, you're in with a chance of winning a copy of Legends Arceus. There are going to be a lot of new videos coming out. I am really excited for the next couple of weeks, so join me, because yeah, between now and then Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl and then Legends Arceus is only 2 months after that. Yeah, the next couple of months are going to be wild, because you got Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl, then Legends Arceus. And if you are still watching me and listening to me blabber on, I just wanted to give a special shout out to you, my kind of secret audience. Thank you for supporting as much as you do. You really are an absolute hero. Thank you for watching this long. Thank you for watching, everyone. I will see you soon with new Pokemon theories, not just the old ones. And of course, soar high, Pokemon Masters.
This is Ash Ketchum. You just watched a video by Birdkeeper Toby. That makes you a Pokemon Master.
I still just can't get over how much love this channel has. Thank you for the support of my patrons, and especially the big patrons of the month: JD Gottlich, Michael Hornschuch, PokeAtmos, Stefan Peters, PokeBliss, and Jedruben. Thank you.